I'm here to talk to you about Finny. So, Finny seems innocent and good to the point of perfection. He inspires both jealousy and rivalry to Jean. As his character is described through Jean's eyes, it's hard to analyse him because we're not sure whether time has changed Jean's perception of Finny since he is revisiting his memories. Can Finny be possible? Or is he just the product of an overreactive teenage mind just a wee bit prone to hyperbole? Jean seems to alternate between "My misery was too deep to speak anymore. It was all cold trickery. It was all calculated. It was all enmity. Up went the hope that there was anyone in the school, in this world, whom I could trust. But Phineas and I are even in enmity. We are both coldly driving ahead for ourselves alone. And I'm losing myself to Phineas. But I feel happy, exhilarated, free. I realize now, this is my life's purpose, to become a part of Phineas. Jean seems torn in his attitude toward Phineas. He displays a regard for him akin to worship at times, and says that without Phineas there is no peace at Devon. But then suspects Phineas of being a traitor, double-faced, liar, cold, calculating, ambitious. Finny is described as a sort of Greek hero athlete, superhuman in both body and mind, until the moment where he falls and everything starts to tear apart. He's the best athlete in the school, even though he's a lower middler, and yet his reluctance. Even the description of him reflects that, for such an extraordinary athlete, he was not spectacularly built. He weighed 150 pounds, a galling 10 pounds more than I did, which flowed from his legs to torso and shoulders to arms and full strong neck in an uninterrupted, unemphatic unity of strength. I particularly like the different descriptions of Finny's walk. Finny just walked on, or rather flowed on, rolling forward in his white sneakers in a unity of movement that walk couldn't describe. Chapter 1. And around Devon we had gaits of every description, gangling shuffles from boys who had suddenly grown a foot taller, swinging cowboy lopes from those thinking of how wide their shoulders had become, ambles, waddles, light trippings, gigantic bunyan strides. But Phineas had moved in a continuous flowing balance, so that he seemed to drift along with no effort at all, relaxation on the move. Chapter 6. This is a perfect metaphor for Finny's character and personality. He has no qualms. He is so at peace with himself and the rest of the universe that he is completely coordinated. His perception of life is stunningly simple. He is charismatic and pure of heart. For him, anything you were good at came without effort. After breaking the school record, he says, "I just wanted to see if I could do it. Now I know. But I don't want to do it in public." Chapter 3. One description which particularly made me laugh was, "God was always unoccupied in Finny's universe, ready to lend an ear any time at all. Anyone who failed to get his message through in 3 minutes, as I sometimes failed to do when trying to impress him, Phineas, with my sanctity, wasn't trying." Chapter 8. Phineas considers authority to be the necessary evil against which happiness was achieved by reaction. Chapter 1. He is carefree and makes everyone like him. He wins every argument because of his charm and wit and complete honesty. His disregard for the unspoken code of the boys' boarding school, wearing a pink shirt, some looking like a fairy, using the school tie as a belt, admitting to Jean that he is his best pal, something akin to social suicide, reflects his light-hearted attitude towards rules in general. He is spontaneous and boisterous, full of life and energy. Blitzball, the game which he invents on a whim, with an old medicine ball in which everyone competes furiously but no one ever wins, is a perfect representation of Finny's outlook on life. He categorically refuses to think ill of anyone and counts no one as his enemy. He seems to assume that the world is a fundamentally friendly place, and that any proof otherwise is a vain attempt to keep you towing the line. He believes that no one can be evil. He immediately apologizes for suspecting the truth, and when confronted with the bitter reality of Jean's action, it breaks him. This incapability of his to see others as potentially dangerous is his weakness as well as his strength. When you really love something, he says, then it loves you back, in whatever way it has to love. Chapter 8. He cannot even believe that people would be so insensitive as to start a war. For him, there is no war. He is so totally honest and pure as to be vulnerable, both morally and physically. Even after the accident, he continues to be friends with Jean, considers Jean to be an Even after the accident, he continues to be friends with Jean, considers Jean to be an extension of himself, a relationship which eventually leads to his death. He also assumes that everyone is like him. He never realizes that Jean needed to study, in much the same way that Phineas never needs to practice for sports. He coerces Jean into doing whatever he fancies, and this is part of the reason for Jean's resentment towards Finny. And Finny, seeing only the good in everyone, fails to see the build-up in Jean's inner turmoil. Finny is the only character in the entire book that does not have a last name. Now I think this is really interesting because it's as if Finny is unique. Finny's Finny. He doesn't need an adjective in some sorts. The name Finny is thought to come from Hebrew meaning oracle, as if Finny were the voice of God, of truth, of goodness. Jean emphasizes Phineas's uniqueness at the end when he says, "Only Phineas was never afraid. Only Phineas never hated anyone. All of them, all except Phineas, constructed at infinite cost to themselves these Maginot lines." So this is the end. There's a lot to say about Finny's character, but I'll let you figure out the rest on your own. Good luck getting through the rest of the book. If you finished the book already, good luck getting through whatever project your nasty English teacher has cooked up for you. Or an essay. It could be an essay. Essays are evil. And so is poetry. Good luck!